Good morning, good morning. Welcome to FIFO, Flow In, Flow Out. Danny Marawinski here with my boy Samnang Man. Today we have special guest Sam Hardman. We got a whole story about him and why he's on the show. Excited to hear his story. Just as a reminder, this whole podcast is about helping raise the collective vibrations, helping you guys get started with that thing that you want to do. Sam Nang and I met back in high school, hadn't talked in over 20 years. We got together and over our social media content, and we were like, hey, actually, Sam Nang, on the next day that we were supposed to meet, he was like, why don't you hit record and start the podcast? So here we are, super organic. New episodes come out every Monday at 6 a.m., Friday at 4 p.m., so we can catch you guys on your morning commutes and afternoon commutes. So without any further ado, Sam Nang, you want to jump into today, what we got going on, who
Yeah,
Sam is?
nice introduction as always, Danny. It's getting better and better. And I thought to myself while I was meditating, I was like, I gotta start getting better on my introductions as well too. So I've been tightening up the game, leveling it up a little bit. So we are currently I think we thought episode 20 was last one that we recorded, but today is episode 20. And we got a special guest. His name is Sam Hardman, aka the Bearded Broker. He's been a long-time friend of mine, big supporter of me, and I've supported him in many different ways. So we'll talk about that and tell you guys a good story about our relationship and how we got here. And the mission is to elevate, to raise the collective vibrations, to help everybody be a little bit more productive, a little bit more happy, and achieving all their goals and all the good woo-woo. That's basically what the why is for today. And for me, just glad I'm here to be able to express my feelings and share my thoughts with you guys, because this is part of my mission as well too, after doing all my therapy and being here enlightened. And also want to let you guys know it's Cambodian New Year's, so we celebrate all week. I'm a proud
Happy
Cambodian.
New Year's.
Yep, thank you. And let's get to the story about Sam Hardman and who he is and why he's on the show. So Sam Hardman is a friend of mine. I thought he would be a good person to be on the show because his hustle is inspiring to me. So I first met Sam at CrossFit Annandale when I was a CrossFit coach, and Sam joined the CrossFit gym. He drank the Kool-Aid. I drank the Kool-Aid for a little bit, and I coached him. And for a while, I think it was like maybe a year or two later, the owner of the gym had Sam as the manager, and then Sam eventually bought the gym, so he became the gym owner, and I was one of the CrossFit, still the CrossFit coach there. And then what happened is I started going. I wanted to become a real estate agent, so I've known, I told you guys that I was a real estate agent for about like 3.5 years, and Sam was the person that helped me, tutored me, he mentored me, he coached me to do real estate for 3.5 years. It was a fun ride. It was a fun experience. We could talk a little bit more about that. And then I stopped selling real estate, and then Sam continued on with his journey, and now a big broker. Right? He's the bearded broker. So fill us in with the story, Sam Hardman. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for the invite. Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. I think that's about it, right? I bought a CrossFit gym once, and I'm a real estate agent. No, the gym was a fun time.
You want to say he's really, really good at, besides like selling used houses? He's really good at dad jokes, really subtly at the perfect opportunity. When he said that's really hard, and he just slips like a nice dad joke just to cut the tension. I'm like, he's really.
My kids love it.
Yeah, he's good at that.
Kids think it's funny.
I'm a huge fan of dad jokes. That's awesome. So Sam, tell us again. So rewind me back when you guys first met, and so you got into CrossFit. Have you always been into CrossFit? How did that whole thing kind of come about?
No, no, not at all. So we had one of my wife's coworkers was going to the gym, and at the time we were doing endurance stuff, my wife and I. So I just finished doing a half Ironman, which
Oh,
was
Oh
like
wow.
a big race for me. Um, and Ironman training takes a long time. Like
yeah,
it's like a part-time job, right? Like aside from the physical training, you have to like get your bike ready and you have to drive your bike to wherever you're going to ride for 4 hours.
yeah,
So a 4 hour training is really like 6 hours worth of your day.
Yeah.
And you're doing that multiple days a week. So if you're training for full Ironman, like on the low side, you're training 18 hours a week plus all the prep and support for that. So one of my wife's coworkers was like, "Hey, you guys should check out this gym I go to." So we went to it, and I did my first workout. And, like I very clearly remember my first workout, and I called my wife from the parking lot. I'm like, "Hey guys, see you later." And I walk out to my truck and call my wife, and I was like, "I can't drive right now." She's like, "What?" And I was like, "No, it's not safe. I can't drive." So so then I sat in the truck for a few minutes, like 15 minutes, and then I was like, "All right, I'm safe now." Then the next workout, there was a 7-Eleven in the same parking lot, and I was like, "Oh my god, I can't drive again." But I went over to 7-Eleven, grabbed a chocolate milk, and like pounded it, and went to pay. And the guy's like, "It's empty." And I was like, "Yeah, I already drank it." I was like, "All right, I think I like this gym."
yeah.
Joined the gym. Like Sam Nang said, worked out there for about a year and a half, and got my level 1 cert. And the owner worked for the government and had to go on a temporary assignment and asked if I would run the gym while he was gone. I
Oh,
said
Jeremy.
sure. Yeah, Jeremy.
With
And
Jeremy.
he did a great job putting the gym together. There was a lot of cool people there.
Yeah,
It was pretty tight. Like there were parties all the time and everybody getting together, going to DC United games and Nationals games. And
it was a fun time. That's for
it was
sure.
really cool. It was a really cool time. So his temporary assignment turned into a permanent assignment. And he was like, "Hey, would you be interested in buying the gym?" So I bought it and then ran it for another 8 years.
Now, is that your first business, or
Um,
have you had businesses before?
sort of. I was
You
in
had
real estate before.
an agent and you had the gym at the same time,
Yeah.
right?
So
That
the
was
gym
what.
was never my like full time income.
Yeah, but you were also starting your real estate career when you were at CrossFit Annandale, correct? Because you were doing
Yeah.
or like in the Navy or um,
Yeah. I
correct me.
joined the Coast Guard after high school. So I'd gotten out of the Coast Guard and worked various jobs. Like I was a cook in the Coast Guard, so I thought I wanted to cook some more. Then you start cooking for a living, you're like, I don't want to cook anymore. And so I still cook a lot. I have a really nice kitchen, uh, but but I don't want to do that for a living. So I got into real estate. My family was in real estate, so I started working with them, and and then so now I've been doing that for 19 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's just been
So
kind of he's big on systems and stuff. So when he was one of my or I could talk. How about I'll talk about Sam's experience as me as a coach for him. When I coached him as a CrossFit athlete, Sam was good. Sam was a good CrossFit athlete. When he put his attention to something, he made gains, but then he also like he's very easy to just like stop, just like instead of actually just going being consistent and stuff. But like when you did make those gains and stuff, they were good. When you were in the gym, you were consistent and everything. So it was good. And CrossFit Annandale, like when we talk about it, that was also one of my like golden eras of life. Like I've had some of the best friends, some of the best memories, some of the best uh relationships. Like I married Whitney, which I met there at CrossFit Annandale, and I made lifelong friends at CrossFit Annandale. So and it was a really big part of like the community that we created. It was like a fitness community. So Annandale is predominantly Asian, right? Not Cambodian or anything, but they call it Asian Dale. So there was a lot of mix of different people there. There was like white, Spanish, Hispanic, me, Asian, but so there was like a big mix of people, and to have the coaches there, like I was one of them, and I love CrossFit. I love lifting. I used to be after I did CrossFit, I was a strength and conditioning coach, which I did strictly just like weightlifting and powerlifting. So I got away from I did CrossFit for like 4 years, and then we moved up to just strictly doing like strength and conditioning, and that's where I met my first Whitney there. And when I had my wedding, a good amount of my gym friends were there. So that's a good memory that I've had
Yeah, I
there.
was at a table with them.
Yeah. And then we went to other weddings. So it's been a big community. It's been part of our life. So, and last year we had Sam and I put a CrossFit Annandale reunion together at Kilroy's, which is, it's
Oh,
funny.
I know Kilroy's.
Funny. That's what,
Kilroy's,
Awesome.
home of the coolest beer. Like their beer's not cold, but it's cool.
yeah. So Kilroy's kind of like Cheers. It's a place that you know, and everybody knows. So, and I've had high school reunions there. I had CrossFit Annandale reunion there. Like every time I go there, I know somebody. They're like, yeah.
Man, I remember going to lunch there with my mom in 1992, and the place looks exactly the same.
The food's the same. Everything.
Everything's the same. They
Everything.
stretched out their
I'm
tube
just stopped
TVs for
there.
flat screens.
The only thing that I eat is the prime rib. And the prime
Prime
rib is
rib's pretty good.
fucking great. Everything else is just like meh for me, right? And so that's the only thing I get, right? And the thing is, like, Kilroy's is so synonymous for just being the same thing every time you get, you know. The food's okay. You know, the atmosphere there is fantastic though. But and CrossFit Annandale is right behind the when you relocated, you guys actually relocated right behind Kilroy's into that like
Yeah.
business there too. So, but it's neat, man. I'm glad to be here to talk about that. And you're part of our community and stuff. So we're bringing guests on that we know to tell stories and inspire us and fill us in on what you're doing. And right now, I feel like you're in like your prime shape in business and stuff. You've been hitting deals and gotten through the hardships of life and making money, and now you are a broker at what company is it?
Samson Properties.
Okay, give us a plug of your business and give us a little bit about your business background and knowledge about how you transition from being a real estate agent to like a business owner now.
Yeah, so right now there's a couple things I do at Samson Properties. I'm a realtor there, but I also run my team out of there. So we have the Hardman team. There's 10 of us right now.
Yeah.
We have admin support, transaction coordination support, and then agents. So helping people buy and sell houses is what we do.
Yeah.
So there's different ways we go about doing that. There's different ways for people finding clients and for helping people. Then aside from running the Hardman team, I'm also the managing broker of their Gainesville office. We have 37 offices in Northern Virginia. It's like the biggest small company when you talk about real estate companies.
Nice.
It's a local brand. It's family owned by the Samson family. They're awesome. But there's almost 6,000 agents.
Wow.
So it's a lot. It's a big company with 6,000 agents throughout the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. They have offices in West Virginia now. They have a virtual office in Pennsylvania and Florida. They have one office in Delaware, but it's mostly Virginia, Maryland, and DC.
Okay.
So I run their Gainesville office, which we're just under 250 agents. So it's a pretty good size office. They consider it a medium size office. We actually just won medium size office of the year for the company, so that was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah. You give them one round of applause.
Yeah,
we
thanks.
can. I know what you're looking for, Sam, man.
We have sound effects.
There it is. So they do an award ceremony. It's kind of like the Oscars you'd see on TV. So they rent out a conference, a big conference room, have a lunch, and do a big award ceremony. So we won it there.
Hey, real quick, Danny, did something change on your end with the media or like the video or? look
No,
like no. Okay.
no, everything's good.
Okay, cool. No worries. All right, continue on. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
So you won Medium Office of the Year this year. You got
medium
about
size office of the year. Samnang sideways now.
he likes to distract our guests.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties. Sorry. Go ahead.
So with Samson Properties, they started a coaching component to the company called Samson Plus, and I'm a big believer in coaching.
Yeah.
We'll get into some of that. So when they started Coaching Plus or Samson Plus, they were like, "Hey, would you be interested in being a Samson Plus coach?" And it worked out perfectly at the time. I just left this other coaching organization that I was working with, which was pretty awesome. It's called Club Wealth, but it's real estate. It's a real estate coaching company.
Okay. And what do you?
I was like,
You're basically mentoring up and coming real estate agents. Is that kind of the idea, or?
sort of, yeah. It's a little more than mentoring. It's more, yeah. Basically, it's tier based, so it goes by level tiers of production, and you you're as a coaching client, your coach is always at least one tier ahead of you.
Got it.
So
Yeah.
presumably, if I'm selling 50 houses a year and I'm trying to get to 100 houses a year, and my coach has just figured out how to sell 100 houses a year, then he can show me how to do it a little easier. I'm
Got
not
it. Got
reinventing
it.
the wheel. I can say, hey, here's how you do it.
Yeah.
So
Makes sense.
as a Samson Plus coach, I've coaching clients who are tiers below me. So wherever they are in their business, I've already done it. So I can say, hey, here's what you need to do.
Yeah. Would you say, I know now in real estate, there's like when I was in real estate, there's a ton of real estate agents. There's also a lot of real estate agents now. And there are
Yeah.
also ones that are there's also ones that are. So I had a second run at real estate as well too, and my second one was definitely a lot harder than the first time. Maybe if you could update us on actually like if somebody's like a up and coming or newer real estate agent, what kind of mindset, what type of things that is it coaching? I think coaching me, I definitely I'm just like you. I'm pro coaching and also be coaching somebody else as well too. So and I think the big misconception is that in order for us to like coach, we have to like be this perfect guru or something. I think it's just that you have to be one step ahead. Like hearing that, I was like, yeah, it's like we became CrossFit coach, but we really just completed what we were just doing like 3 months ago, and we were coaching it, right? So it's exactly you're one step ahead, but in order to be a good coach, I think you do have to just continue to teach and continue to grow as well too. So maybe tell us, because I have some real estate agent friends, and that are either thinking about it or are, and I have some that have been in the game for a while because I know some of them. Maybe give us some advice about what you would do as a seasoned vet in the game.
Well, if I was a new agent, I would definitely join a team, or and definitely get a coach
Join a
as
team.
fast as possible. Right. So there's been kind of like a shift over the real estate market over the last 5 years. 5 years ago, there weren't a lot of teams. There was a few. There was a few big teams in the area, and now there's a ton of teams.
Mm-hmm.
So teams are kind of going to become or working towards becoming like small miniature brokerages. Right. So we work at Samson Properties, but we're the Hardman team, and the people on my team can get anything they need within the team. So there's coaching, there's mentorship, there's advice, there's help.
Mm-hmm.
Real estate also, if you're an independent agent, you're just working, trying to help people buy and sell houses. It gets after a while, it gets very, very lonely. You're by yourself, and people work from home a lot, so you're just by yourself a lot. And I don't do well with that. I did it, and I don't do well with it. I like to be around people.
Yeah.
I need other people's energy. Like I need to see people and talk to people. So
Yeah.
after years of being alone, it's not fun for me. And I think for a lot of people, it's the same way. So if you're a new agent, um, join a team or get a mentor or get a coach that can help you.
Yeah.
Get your tribe. Yeah. No, I think I
Yeah.
love that, man. And it's funny. I work with a lot of real estate agents. My company does, and we work even with some other conglomerates inside of real estate. I've been around the game. I've never personally been a realtor,
Mm-hmm.
but we've supported a lot of real estate agents through digital marketing, things of that nature. Even
Yeah.
pre-COVID, I had my first keynote speaking engagement, paid speaking engagement in upstate New York. It was going to be about 300 agents with Coldwell Banker, and then COVID hit and it shut it down. I was all bummed out by it.
Oh man.
But but one thing I find synonymous with real estate agents, and one of the reasons why I love working with them, is most agents that I've met, especially ones that are like actually trying to make an impact, trying to get the volume, trying to help people out, very entrepreneurial driven, right? It's not like a normal job, and it is very much like running your own business, right? It's your own network, it's your own pipeline, it's your own relationships, and then it branches off into your own brand, into your own. I mean, I see you have a personal brand, right? The Bearded Broker. I saw your cup, so I'm assuming that's your face on there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
ZZ Top.
So that's awesome, man. So that part of it, I think, is a huge challenge, and it takes a lot. I think that's what a lot of people don't realize when you start anything, right? I actually just talked to a guy yesterday. He's a lineman. He does power lines, and I was telling him about what I do with digital marketing, and he's like, "Oh, I'm looking to possibly switch my career. Like, what could I do inside of digital marketing?" And I was just like, "Well, the trick is like any business, you have to be able to go get paying customers for whatever service or whatever thing that you're selling. Like that is business. That's the hardest part,
Yeah.
is finding the people where the transactions are.
Yeah.
So walk me through a little bit about your journey. I'm assuming now that you've hit this level of success, and I want to hear about where you're going next. So I'll get to that question too, but let's rewind a little bit. So you went from Coast Guard, and then you
Yeah.
came out of Coast Guard, and then did you immediately jump into real estate? You said you've been doing it for 11, 12 years now?
19 years. So pretty
19
much
years.
Yeah.
I got out of the Coast Guard. I was working in restaurants and in catering because I was a cook in the Coast Guard. I wanted to be a chef like my whole life growing up.
I was a culinary major too for a moment in time, so I
Yeah,
can relate
right.
there.
Culinary school is expensive, so I was like, I'll join the Coast Guard. I can cook there. I'll get the GI Bill, then I can go to culinary schools. Then when I got out, I had the GI Bill, and I was like, I'm not going to culinary school. I've been cooking for years. I know how to do this now.
Right. Right.
So I worked at a restaurant, and I worked like every holiday. I worked like Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's Eve. Like I worked all these Easter, like all the holidays in a row, and I wanted to have Mother's Day off, and they said no, and because I wanted to go lunch with my mom, and they were like no, and I was like, all right, you know what, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And at the time, my dad and my brother were real estate agents, so they hired me to be like their helper. This was in 2004, and the market was really, really hot in 2004. So they hired me to be their helper. Then my brother ended up leaving the country for 3 months. So I was like, I'll get my license while he's gone and I can fill in.
Yeah.
And he came back and was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So then it was just me and my dad for a long time, for, I don't know, 15 years.
That's awesome.
Me and my dad working together, which was cool, except for like neither one of us would hold each other accountable to anything. And we both picked up both of our bad habits. So things like, what's that?
Are you talking about when you worked with your dad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We had a lot of fun, but like, we were like, okay, we should be doing this to get new clients, or we need to lead generate. And we're like, or we can go play golf. And we're like, let's go play golf. so it was a lot of,
we'll find someone on the golf course.
Yeah. It was a lot of good time with my dad. Like it was amazing to spend 15 years working with your dad. But I never really took real estate serious.
Yeah.
And then I ended up going through this round of depression, and some stuff happened, and I ended up just not working for like 2 years. I just kind of just sat there, like literally laying in bed. Like I'd get up, my kids would go to school, my wife would go to work, and I'd get back in bed and lay there.
Yeah.
And then my wife caught me. She caught me in bed by myself, And she's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, this is kind of what I do." And she's like, "Not anymore." So she's like, "Let's get you some help." So I
Yeah.
went and got some help, and I was like, "All right, I need to get my life together. I need to get to work." And so those 2 years, I sold 3 houses in one house, which is not a good living.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
I had
that's
the
not a
gym
lot.
income. The gym was kind of running on its own, so that was fine. So I had that income. Then I had my wife's income. So we were making it, but like we didn't have a lot of savings. We didn't have any investments. Like it wasn't a financially great time, but we were making it. So I went from 3 houses to one house, and then I was like, I haven't done real estate really in 2 years. I need to figure this out. So I went to an online conference. They had a bunch of different speakers,
Yeah.
and the speakers, they all have that thing like, "Hey, text this number, and we'll give you our download of this ebook." So I did it. I did it to one of them. They followed up with me, and I ended up going to their conference in California. That was Club Wealth,
Hmm.
and joined Club Wealth, and as a group coaching client because that's what I could afford at the time. And then went to their conference. It was the first morning of their conference. Like they did like the big pump up thing in the morning, which I love. And I called my wife and I was like, "Hey, I joined one-on-one coaching, so I'm gonna have my own coach." And she's like, "Can we
Yeah.
afford that?" And I was like, "No, we can't, but we're gonna." So I
You
joined
look at
one-on-one coaching.
that's right. That's
What's
what I
that?
think. You got to look at as an investment. It's
Yeah,
it
but it was
pays.
scary because we didn't have the money, so I was putting it on a credit card. It was five
Yeah.
hundred
Yeah.
bucks a month at the time, and I was like, this is scary for me."
Yeah.
Um, so I hooked up with this guy, Andy Kantz, who's a real estate agent in South Dakota. He's a friend of mine now. Um, and he's like, "So what are we trying to do here?" So we came up, told him what my goals were. And so the first year with Andy, I sold 26 houses. So it was 3
Yeah.
houses, one house, 26 houses. The next year was 50. Um, and I was by myself still. Um, and 50
Yeah.
houses by yourself is a lot.
That's a lot.
And it's a lot of time. So I was out of the house. And that was during COVID. It was like right at the beginning of COVID. Um, so I was out of the house like all the time, 16-hour days, 6 or 7 days a
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
Um, so I sold those 50 houses that I sold was almost all of it was in the first 3 quarters of the year. Um, and
Dang.
I was like, I came very, very close to just completely burning out. It was just, I was tired. Like you're waking up and leaving the
That's a
house at
house
6
a
a.m.
week, man. That's a lot.
Yeah, it was exhausting. So I was like, I can't continue this. I need to get some help now. So I
So the
started,
coaching was kind of like what helped you get out of the funk.
yeah.
Well, it's
So,
kind of,
well,
and then
it
you
was
did it, and
my
coach
wife and
kind
in
of supported.
therapy.
That was a
What?
really that's really like I guess I mean we're both coaches and we were in the coaching space. It's like how important it is to take care of your mental health when you're like for me it's like I'm in sales as well too. It's like when my mental health is not good, my sales is not good. So
Yeah.
it's understanding that. So I've spent a lot of money on my mental health and coaching as well too. So um, that's pretty. I mean, I appreciate you sharing that. Sam, actually, that story of like going into depression when I was going through my separation and divorce, I needed somebody to help sell um, our house. And Sam actually knew Whitney and me as well too. So I was like, for selling the house, I was like, he's the only person that I would trust because he knows both of us and kind of like our situation and everything. And he told me a little bit about the story about what he was when he was depressed. And what really like inspired me was that he said he just started doing stuff. I think just talking about like giving people favors or just like stopping by and giving phone calls, talk about that, like just being of a service. I think
Yeah.
that's what you were telling me, and that inspired me to my um, when I was getting help. I think you saying that you got help is good. I think people should talk about that more because it does really affect a lot of things, especially like your work and your sales and stuff. So I got some help, and it helped me a lot talking to Sam. When I was going through my depression, I was talking to a therapist once a week, and I had maybe 4 or 5 different conversations with like close friends, family member, coworkers. I was just making sure that I was not letting myself get into like a dark hole, and I was doing a lot of work, but it was definitely hard at that. uh and really it was like last year. So I'm just as I'm coaching it right now, it's like I just went through it. So I'm trying to help people, if they need help with it and stuff. Um but I think coaching is valuable, and I have helped another client that got out of the it was postpartum depression and stuff, and just talking about it and having somebody know like is watching you or supporting you, it makes you uh, feel accountable. Like I felt
Mm-hmm.
accountable to the people that I was talking on the phone, that were listening to me and stuff. So to me, that's why, I wake up, and that's my why and stuff. And, that's why you're here on the show telling us a little bit about your story and stuff, the going through the depression and coming up, working with coaches and everything. Um, that's a neat story. And I think it's like, my question I did want to ask, since you're like a coach, like mentor to people now, and I guess you've coached me before too, or mentored me, and maybe talk about like what is a good mentee or somebody, what qualities should they have, like a good real estate agent.
So every coaching client that I start with, our first meeting, the first thing we go over is expectations.
Mhm.
Because a buddy of mine once said, when expectations differ, that's when conflict arises. So if I have expectations of one thing and they have expectations of another, we're both doing what we think we want to do, and if it doesn't match up, then there's conflict, right?
Expectation.
So, like if you're a CrossFit coach and you expect a client to be coming 4 days a week, and they're like, "Oh, 2 days a week is great," and you're like, "No, dude, you're slacking," and they're like, "What? I'm killing it," right? Right. So,
Right.
um, I always say, "What are your expectations with coaching?" And they say whatever they say, right? And for me, for a coaching client, my expectation is for them to do what they say they're going to do. So there's a lot of times where they'll say, "I'm going to do X, Y, and Z," and then if they don't do it, then we're like, "Okay, so what's happening in your life that's preventing you from doing this?" Like, you can come at it and be like, "You suck. Why didn't you do this?" Or you
Hmm.
can be like, "Hey, what happened that got in your way of doing this?" And
I
sometimes,
like what you just said there, Sam. I want to pull the thread on that just a little because I think that's like so many people don't like when you go into coaching, right? And I think you're 100%, you hit the nail on the head. And I think it's also true with business transactions in general, right? And business in general is that expectation. And from a coaching perspective, I think that's fascinating, right? Like, what's your expectations? It doesn't matter really what they say, because then it's like, well, let me tell you my expectations, and that's that you're gonna demonstrate integrity and follow
Mhm.
through with what you're gonna say. And I think maybe even that alone, just having someone to hold, like an accountability buddy, if you will, that
Mhm.
alone is so powerful, right?
Yeah.
Just setting that as the playing field, because now all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, I said I was gonna do 5 days a week, and now now he's expecting me to do 5 days a week, so now I got to do 5 days a week. You know what I mean? I think that's brilliant. By the way, I love that part.
Yeah, I've picked up a lot of cool stuff on coaching along the way, and that's one I really like.
Yeah.
Um,
I think when you,
so I'm,
you become a coach, you just become like you have to be better. When you say you have to set expectations for something, that means you're also setting that your own expectations as well too. As like for me, is like my experience as like trying to be a leader, right? Trying, right? I never felt like I was a leader, but I always try to lead in a way, but of just by example. I wasn't I don't know if I was like always the loudest speaking guy, or like my communication wasn't always as good as it is now. So I always try to lead by like an example. When I belonged in a fraternity and CrossFit Annandale community, and I felt like I was a leader, but I didn't really communicate a lot. But I tried. What I did was I set my own expectation. This is what I would expect from anybody that's a fraternity brother or like a community or like a athlete at CrossFit Annandale, and that I would try to hold that expectation for some of the athletes there. Um, what about uh, like clients or mentors or mentees that, you know, have you encountered ones that you just couldn't, or just like try to mentor and you just knew at a point where like, I don't know if I could work with this person, or you have been extremely like blunt with them? Because I've been pretty blunt with some people I've coached before, and it felt like their feelings have been hurt. Have you had to do something like that in your career?
I haven't been like, not to where I hurt somebody's feelings, but we've definitely dig into the reasons for things.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you had this goal for a month now, and you haven't done anything with it. What's going on with that? And
Yeah.
nobody goes up and is like, I'm going to set a goal and intentionally not do it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Like there's something that's causing them to not do it. So we'll dig in, ask a lot of questions, and figure out what the meaning behind it is, and then address that. So
Yeah.
I don't think
Well,
we've gotten to the. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to
I haven't
cut you
gotten to the point where I have to be blunt and hurt people's feelings, but we've been blunt, like, hey, this isn't happening. What's going on with it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's I get that, and I got to ask you. So you mentioned, okay, so you had this like 2-year bout where you were pretty depressed. You know, 3 transactions, 4 transactions is very little, especially compared. I mean, now you're doing that like once a week, or maybe even more now. So and I love the fact that, okay, wife comes in, she's like, all right, Sam, we're not doing this anymore. Like, you need to go do something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've had many moments where my wife has also inspired me and helped me take the next step. So you started the program, you took a risk, you gave out some information with it was the Wealth, what was the name
Yeah,
of
it's
it
called
again?
Club Wealth. I'm not a
Club
member
Wealth.
there anymore, but they did a
Okay.
lot for me at the time.
So you started with them, and then you took the risk, $500 a month for this one-on-one coaching. Can you identify a particular moment? Because I think I see this. I know Sam probably sees the same thing. Also, probably sees this too, where people become aware, right? I think they become problem aware of depression and their lack of motivation and things of that nature. I think a lot of people can have that realization relatively quick. I mean, some people stay in it for a while before they catch on to it, but most people are aware, like, something's off in my life.
Yeah.
Can you pinpoint the moment that you really started getting started on working on yourself, like, was there like a defining point in time? Was it from the coaching perspective that lit that light bulb of you, where it's like, oh, I need to go do this or do that to get myself out of this bout?
Probably so, because I still do it all the time now. So initially, I got medication, which was cool. It helped in the short term, but I didn't like it. I didn't like how I felt, which is, you always hear that people are like, "Oh, I felt flat, so I stopped taking it." But it was an antidepressant medicine, but it kind of made me neutral on everything. My wife would be like, "Isn't this exciting?" I'm like, "Yeah, babe, super exciting." And she's like, "I need some emotion from you." I'm like, "I don't know how much more excited I could be." So ended up, my mom's pretty smart about things, and she was like, "Well, you need to start helping people. It'll make you feel better." So literally, I would just, like Sam Nang said a minute ago, I would just call people, and it's still my prospecting call today. I'll call people and just say, "Hey, just calling to check in, see how you're doing, and see if there's anything I can help you with."
Yeah.
And people would joke, because it's not a normal thing people ask you, right? So they're like, "Oh, I need my house painted," and I'd be like, "Cool, can I get you an introduction to my painter?" And they're like, "Oh, actually, yeah, that'd be great." So then my painter's happy and they're happy. Or someone would be like, "Oh, I forgot lunch today," and I'm like, "All right, I'll bring you lunch." So I had Uber Eats bring him lunch. I hope he likes Quiznos, but that's what he got that day. So I sent Uber Eats to his work and brought him lunch.
You say Quiznos, man. That's old school. I don't think Quiznos exist anymore, do they?
I don't know. They shouldn't. There's too many other
Yeah.
good places.
I mean, you're really in a service and just getting there. And similar, that's what I'm doing right now, is just calling people, messaging people, jumping on Zoom calls and offering coaching, and just letting them know, hey, look, I'm around if you need it. So it's been a good way to touch base with people, and then also kind of warm up your leads and just stay in contact and stuff. So when you are in real estate and any kind of business and stuff, it's no matter what you're selling, I sold everything. I've sold photography. I've sold houses. I've sold nutrition coaching and physical or like bodybuilding coaching. It's not that like I was selling the service. I was just selling myself, right? Talking
Yeah.
about like when we talk about branding, like Sam's branded himself. He's like the guy, the bearded broker. He looks like ZZ Top and he tells dad jokes and everything. Is this like it's just who you are, right? It's not
So
like you.
it's a
Yeah,
people business, right? People
yeah,
buy from people. Um, so we push towards this community service and helping people, and then discovered along the way that if I'm helping real estate agents, it kind of gives me the same mental health boost as if I'm just helping somebody who forgot their lunch.
yeah.
So I was able to
So that
transition that into
was
helping agents be successful.
so you started doing these little acts and reaching out to people and just like, hey, I forgot lunch, and you just send them lunch, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
like little things like that, which is awesome, man. And so I'm assuming in that moment, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you did started doing these first couple acts, and you're like, screw it, I'll send them lunch. I'm assuming you got a pretty big payoff on the return, as far as not necessarily them they're like, oh, we'll go buy a house from you right this second, but more of the payoff of, wow, I feel like I did something positive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now,
Yeah.
and then that kind of
It's like
snowball
mental
yourself
health
into that
medicine.
momentum.
Right. Yeah. So it's there. I mean, there's two parts of it. Is one, you feel better because you're helping people do things,
Hmm.
but then as a business side of it, you are top of mind with people now, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So like I sent him lunch, and then he's at work the next day, and somebody's like, "Oh, I think I'm going to buy a house," and he's like, "Oh, Sam sent me lunch yesterday," or Sam just called to check on me yesterday. He's
Right.
a real
Right.
estate agent. You
Yeah.
should call him. Like so,
That's a great example of the give, ask, right? And I don't know if you've ever followed any of the kind of bigger names out there, the Hermosis or the Gary V's or any of those
yeah,
dudes out there
all of
talking
them.
about how to do this, right?
So
And it's all
my
give, give,
TikTok
give,
is all
give.
those guys.
Yeah,
People joke
that's
about
awesome.
TikTok. My TikTok is like all leadership training and coaching.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like your own personal master class of like you've worked your own algorithm to your own little
Yeah.
master class of things, right?
I hired Alex Hermosi, I don't know, 6 years ago with the gym.
You
So
did?
Really? You
yeah, I've
went
been
through his
following
gym
him for a
launch
long
program.
time. Yeah.
Oh,
Nice.
that was his program? Oh
Yeah.
shit. I didn't
Yeah.
realize
So
it.
like now that he's a huge overnight success after 20 years of work, he's
Yeah.
he's
A long
people
overnight.
people are yeah people are like, have you ever heard of this guy? I'm like, yeah, I heard of him. I've talked to him. Like like I know him from a long time ago.
Fantastic.
That's
That's
pretty
cool.
cool.
Oh, like
Yeah.
we're connected in this stuff and everything. I'm in class with Alex Omozy and Danny and I consume a lot of his material and I'm pretty much implementing the game plan my coaching business as well too. So it's us documenting the journey, getting previous mentors and tapping into our communities, and that's basically kind of like what the game plan is tapping into like different communities and um, providing some kind of service. And the service
Mm-hmm.
is you know the service is being a service. I think when you talk about my mentor Tony Robbins, one of his thing is a service. He started sending meals out to people. He's at some crazy amount of number of meals that he served. It's something like 500, something like 5 billion or something. Like I don't know what his goals is. It's ridiculous, but he just started becoming a service. And in my spiritual world, it's called karma. You've heard of that. It's that stuff, the woo woo that you're getting back when you give it out or somebody gives it to you. It feels like you owe them back. For me, it's like I'm being a service because I feel like I owe people because they spent their time to talk to me when I was going through my shit, and now I owe them um, some kind of service, and whatever is me talking to them and trying to uplift them and inspire them or coach them or teach them something that I can help them with. That makes me genuinely feel good. And when you talk about what you were doing, you were raising your vibrations. It's similar to what we're doing here in the show. It's telling you, hey, like you could be at a low point, and then you could also continue to raise your vibrations up by doing these kind acts of service.
Yeah.
And like doing a podcast is an act of service. We don't get
Right.
paid directly for it, right? We spend our time and our energy for it, but in return, we get paid in a different way where it's energy, it's influence, and there's also a way to attract other people as well too. So, Sam and I have a common friend named Philip, and Philip was on the show as well too. So, Philip and I are good friends, and Sam's good friend. So we have a good friendship there as well too. But
Well,
podcasting has given him a lot of opportunities to meet different people, and
Yeah.
or just putting yourself out there, So
well, and let me ask you, Sam, too, and kind of on the same thread, right? So, and just real quick, current state. So, are you still at about 50 transactions now, or have you crested into the hundreds? Like, where are you at today? Just real quick on that.
So my personal production has shifted. I do more team leading than buying and selling. I still help people buy and sell, but I'm not as focused on it. So my personal
Okay.
production is way down from where it used to be, but as total volume for the team is way up. So
Okay.
we'll hit over 200 houses this year.
That's awesome.
So
And
dang,
so, and when you first started calling these people, and you first started sending lunches, was your personal production pretty low then when you first started?
when I first started, it was very low. Yeah. So it was
So
literally just finding people to help with anything.
so that's an interesting place, right? And I think that to me is something that would be a key takeaway for folks that are listening to this, because I think we often, when we're in that low spot, right, when we're in that hard spot where it's like, if that was your sole income, granted you had other streams of income which helped, but if that was your sole income was your volume of houses, well, you'd have very little to give at that point, right? You'd probably be struggling a lot more. So what are some pieces of advice that you could give the audience? How can you start to give, even if you don't have a monetary contribution, but how can you start to give on that? Because I think that is such a critical aspect of, like we just talked about, you give, you get that positive reinforcement that creates a momentum, and that's going to carry you to where now all of a sudden you're running a team and your team's crushing it and doing 200 houses, right? So what is that moment like? What can folks give when they're in that kind of funk? What are some different ideas or examples of maybe things that even you gave that didn't necessarily was tied to a monetary contribution if they don't have the ability to donate funds?
Yep. Time. This it's our most valuable resource, but when you don't have any money, you have time, right? If
Right.
So you can. I've given people rides to the airport. I helped a buddy move a desk from his basement to upstairs. Like, you can do service things that are, it's just you basically volunteering. Like, if your
yeah,
friend doesn't need a ride to the airport, you can you can find places to volunteer. You can
yeah,
find nonprofits to work with. So, like, we actually have a team requirement. It's written in our team agreement that you'll volunteer or you'll do something with an organization, a nonprofit, or do something quarterly. Like, we don't make people volunteer, but they don't have to join our team. But if you're going to be on our team, one of the things we expect is for you to be helping serve people.
yeah, like community service, right?
Yeah.
To be honest, like I didn't realize how important it was. I started community service when I was in the fraternity. Um, we did like as a fraternity, that's part of what we do, but it wasn't really like pushed like heavily. It was more
Yeah.
like social thing. But I did get involved in doing community service, and I've always been part of the community. I think the time at CrossFit Annandale, at CrossFit Annandale, for me, it felt like community service because I wasn't getting paid a ton of money, and it was just volunteer, pretty much like volunteer at the same time. But that time at CrossFit Annandale for me was one of my high points in my life because in every aspect that I was achieving success, I was making more money, I was getting fit, I was meeting a lot of friends and everything, and like that was such a good time for me to like make money and like carry momentum and everything. So
Mm-hmm.
during that time, it was for me like my vibrations were very high, and
Yeah.
I love that time
We
at
get
class.
super nerdy into vibrations and laws of attraction. We push that a ton.
Oh, you talk about yeah, you were telling me you talk about manifestation. Do you believe in it?
Yeah, very much. Like, we'll make people say things out loud. People are like, "Oh, that would be awesome if I got $1 million listing." We'll say it out loud, and they're like, "What do you mean?" Like, say, "I want $1 million listing,"
Yeah.
and they're like, I want $1 million listing." We're like, "When do you want it?" They're like, "This week." And they're like, "Okay, it's probably going to happen," and most of the time it does.
Yeah.
Me and
I
my
think,
partner at work, Kelly, we both said it out loud. We both got one that week.
wow.
So
It's powerful. I think it's a pretty powerful tool, and actually like in generating your own energy. Like I'm big on like the woo woo and stuff, and when I say want to record a very good podcast or like have a good coaching call and stuff, it's like it energizes me at the same time, and
yeah,
I'm more inspired to do more work. And because every time I do a coaching call or do a podcast, it gets that much better, and I myself am getting better. So entrepreneurship for me and like this, it's a lot about growth, and it's not really about like hitting. Like now it's like, yeah, I made some money, some years were better than some years and everything, but at the end of the day, like I'm still growing. The growth process is what for me, I like, that's what I'm chasing there as well too, and helping people and bringing people on the podcast to help share their messages and everything. I think it's fantastic. Is there anything else you want to share to our audience? I think we're hitting near the end of the show, Mark. I think you gave us some great tips for business entrepreneurship. Do you have any like goals or things that you want to put out in the universe, the FIFO universe here, so we can send you the good woo woo?
yeah. I have a lot of goals.
Put them
Uh,
out there.
so team goals. We're going to be at 25 agents this year. We're at 10 right now. Um,
Okay.
so we have minimum production standards on the team. So every agent needs to produce at least $5 million a year. So with 25 agents, it's 125 million in production
Yeah.
with an average sales price of average sales price is a little over 500,000. So that's over 200 houses. So that's what's going to happen this year, which also leads into my retirement plan, right? So you can you can build this team up and have it to where it's more running itself, or I'm paying people to run it, so I can kind of step away from it.
Yeah.
Um, so I want to retire by the time I'm 50. I'm 45 right now. So
That's
um,
good goals.
there's other
And
things that need to happen for that. Is more investment stuff. I have some investment properties. I want more investment properties, more Airbnbs, um, so that they're income producing, and and then we also have a nonprofit we started. So I'd like to do more with that over the next year or so. We just had our first gala, raised a bunch of money, so we were able to help people with that. So I think all those things working together would be great.
cool.
Yeah,
Danny, you
thanks,
want?
guys. Yeah, probably 3.5 years ago. Yeah. Yeah, it goes fast, really, really quickly. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. I think Alex Hermosi talks. I think it was him talks about making micro decisions. Is that him,
Mhm.
Sam Nang? Like
I think so.
you got to make a big decision and then make a million small decisions that back it up.
I have similar philosophy. I call it kanai, constantly and never ending improvement. It's a Japanese term, kaizen, right? So it's just small. Okay, you said this goal, you want to be a millionaire. It doesn't have to be like this. It's almost like small incremental changes to that.
Yeah,
Uh,
consistency over time.
yeah, and then it compounds over time. And that's what Alex Hormozy talks about is like, for me, is like when I was going through entrepreneurship and just doing everything I could, like coaching, nutrition, selling real estate, selling photography. I was picking up little skills. So eventually when it was ready, like when, like literally like when I got out of my depression, I was like, this is what I have to do. And that was just like almost within a year, like I just got through my shit and now I'm helping people and coaching people just because that's the natural process is like once you go through something, you coach it and then that becomes who you are and that becomes like your personal philosophy and stuff. So, and I do believe in the manifestation. I've been manifesting like crazy as well too. So, and I'm glad you're into it, and I'm glad you came to the show to talk about your business. And we'd love to have you back on as well too. Please share this with
Anytime.
your network, or if you know anybody that might be inspired or will like this kind of content. Please share with them. And that's it, man. Like, if you want to, I would love to have you back on the show. We could talk more about fitness and everything. But to me, I'm blessed every day to have you guys, join me in this journey. That's
Yeah,
it for the
thanks for the invite, guys.
yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And then also we'll put your contact information, Sam, on the show notes and everything, so people will know how to contact you if you need, if you're mentoring or real estate, whatever service.
I'll definitely hire it out, but it'll get done. The laundry will get done.
This will be good marketing for you too. Okay. All right, sir. Thank you, and we'll be in touch. Okay.
All right, fellas. Thanks.
All right.
Bye.